Hey everyone, welcome to another week of the Bookseller. I'm your host and book goddess, Jessica Gillen, here to bring you another review of a book you chose for me to read in December. That's right, I left your choice to be read first. It was Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This is all brought to you by Eventide Entertainment. So yes, I did get to read this book first. I actually did something different. I downloaded it as a audible version. So I actually downloaded the 30-day trial, and this was one of my picks to have an audible version, just because I wanted to give myself something to read while not having to sit down with a book in front of me. I was traveling over the last couple days. Went back to my home in Washington for Christmas, as I told you guys last week. So this is one of the books that you'll only get to hear my voice and what I think. But for the next 3 shows, you're going to hear from me and some of my friends. Should be kind of interesting. But let's get to this book. So, Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I was really looking forward to this. It was published at the beginning of this year, February 7th, 2017, and I've been seeing it on bookshelves the entire time. I've looked at it, picked it up, thought about it. The only problem is like adult books, they're really a commitment. I don't mind buying like middle grade and YA, because even for a hard copy, it's like $18.99. That's still expensive, $20. But if I want to get like an adult book, sometimes they're like $35. So I definitely need to troll Amazon a little bit better, make sure I'm kind of up to date with the book deals. But I did the free trial of this, and I will say I enjoyed it like a lot. It was really fun to travel listening to this. And honestly, it inspired me to actually go out and buy the book because it was so good. I listened to it twice. I'm probably going to listen to it again to get stuff to really stick. But it was very, very good. I'm a big fan of mythology, folktales, legends. I love that shit. I eat it up. And even as a child, like in school, I was obsessed with history class, not like American history and Canadian history, but ancient civilization history. That stuff was fascinating. So like, my Greek, I told you I took a Greek mythology class in college. One of the best ways that I spent $2,000. It was probably more than that. I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I get my student loan bill this next month. But it was worth it. I really enjoyed it. I got an A in the class. I was just kind of engaged the whole time, and we had to read a textbook of just mythologies, so totally right up my alley. So other than Greek mythologies, I'm a fan of like the Roman civilization era, as well as Egyptian mythology. Egyptian mythology has been somewhat of a enjoyable pastime for me to get to read. But one subject I haven't had a lot of experience with was Norse mythology. Now, I will say that I have a little bit of knowledge, but it really only extends to the fact that I watch the TV show on History Channel, Vikings. That show's really good. But as far as my mythology of that civilization, that's where the line is. So I was actually really excited to get to read a book where it kind of had all of those legends and myths and stories about these characters that we've all heard about all in one place, and to be derived from something that is so insanely long ago. It's just so fascinating to me. One thing I will say is I wish there could have been more. You don't really say that much for these kinds of books. Sometimes people get a little bored of how dry it is. It was not dry. It read like, I don't know, like obviously it was short in some chapters because they would break it down by like the subject. So sometimes you could have like 2 pages worth of material, and especially on a audible version. Like the stories just went by so fast, and I just wanted to read detail and see like artwork, and I don't know. So that's one of the reasons why it inspired me to go buy the book, though, because it's going to be one of those books that you keep on your coffee table with your coffee mugs and tea mugs, and you have a stack of books that are like mythologies. I mean, honestly, this is underneath my table at home. I have my Greek mythology book. I'm going to have this one. That's going to happen. I have Egyptian, like kind of cool different books. Like some are on the ancient history. Some of it is on the hieroglyphics, all sorts of stuff. So I'm into this. I like rereading this stuff. And it's kind of those books that when you have people over, they don't mind picking through. I don't know if anyone else does that at parties. Maybe I'm just that awkward, nerdy girl that looks at the stack of books or the bookshelf and I'm like, so this is your taste, is it? Like, I can judge someone off of what is on their bookshelf quite easily. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm impressed by a lot of people. I don't know if they like actually read those, or, they throw them out there like, oh, this is something that a lot of people have read and liked. But I would say like most of my friends, very well read. I enjoy your company. Good job. All right, back to the book. So what's really cool about this is, yes, it's short. The audiobook version was also short. I think totally was like 6 hours. But it flows so well. It is so well crafted, well written. Neil Gaiman is amazing at his research and therefore quality of his writing. You felt like he knew, like almost as if he had been there and was just telling us, hey, this is what I saw, this is what I learned. But in such a way that it captivates you from like a fantasy standpoint too. I just loved it. Great flow. It started with like the creation of Yggdrasil, as well as the 9 worlds that are within it. So you kind of got that history. And then you learned about the giants and how they became the parents of certain heroes or players that are in this world. And kind of go into Odin and Loki and Thor and Freya, the giants, dwarves. There's all sorts of characters that you get to learn kind of where their history comes from, as well as their battles between one another. I don't want to obviously spoil anything, but it really is an enjoyable book, and it's something that you can read over and over again, especially if you're nerdy and you love history and you love learning things, especially about something that was so long ago. I'm a fan of history museums. I like to go in there and see it all. Viking stuff, super freaking cool. And I'm really happy that of all people to do something like this, it would be Neil Gaiman. And I could totally see him doing an Egyptian one too, and it being astounding. So maybe this should be like what he pursues next, because if this book is any indication of how amazing he is at writing truth, I mean, I guess mythologies, are not truth, but like go into so much research and detail and learn what was at one point truths for some of these people, almost in a way that it's like he's been there, is amazing. I'm super impressed. I can't wait to go out and buy this. And honestly, it's made me inspired to re-watch my Viking show, to go online and kind of watch more videos about this, or even kind of get more inspired into my Egyptian stuff again, and trying to see where everything kind of relates as far as all these different mythologies, these similar stories. Like there's a couple stories in the Norse mythology that are very similar to Greek mythologies that I've read. So it's kind of interesting to see that there's some overlap there, that one civilization and culture is inspired by another civilization and culture, that they don't copy it, they make it their own for their own people. And that's kind of beautiful. I was really inspired and impressed. Would I recommend this? Abso-freaking-lutely. I would recommend this. Also, go out there and even just go to your Barnes & Noble, your library, and just read one passage just to be like, oh, that's interesting. This was what people believed in. It's kind of beautiful. And the fantasy part of me is like, yeah, this is amazing. Where are the, I need the mythologies now of like dragons and stuff. When do I get that? When are we going to learn about that, Lord of the Rings style stuff? I want our civilization at one point to be Lord of the Rings-esque. Why can't it be? Anyway, that's really where my mind is going after reading. Well, I guess I didn't read it. It's just hard to explain. Like, I listened to it twice. I looked up some of the text through Amazon, like trying to see what it looked like. And it was a lot of fun to listen to. And great side note, the audible version is Neil Gaiman. Yeah, he is telling you the stories he's written in his own voice. So, it's perfect. So you should check that out. If you want to just kind of give yourself like no commitment kind of person, which I get, just go to Amazon, try the Audible 30-day trial. You get 2 books to download, so you can listen to 2 books, any books you want. I picked Norse Mythology. It was worth it in my opinion, but I'm also going to buy the book, so it's really up to you if you want both. You're a badass, and I love how much you love history and cool shit, because this was so cool. But if I also want to throw this back to you. If any of you know other mythology books that are just so enthralling, I love the fantasy aspect, so I love learning like the actual mythologies, but I also like it used in a fantasy context too, kind of brought to life. Like Norse mythology, obviously the movies Thor are inspired from this. Vikings is inspired from this, and I like seeing that kind of stuff. We need more Egypt stuff. Come on. Where do we sign up for that? So that's how I feel about it. Anyway, so I give this a 5 out of 5. Thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the best Neil Gaiman experiences I've had. No confusing moments for me. So 5 out of 5 for that. I love that he is narrating it. And I can't wait to get my hands on it and read it for myself in front of me. It's only 300 pages, so it's not really a big commitment either. I would recommend it. And I hope you guys go out and see it and know that it's awesome and be as cool as you can, I guess, in this kind of realm. Some people won't find it that interesting, but you'll find that pocket of nerds, I promise you, that are into this stuff. I'm into this stuff. Geeking out, nerding out. Man, that was a good time, and that was a good read. Thank you for voting for that. It really started off the month really right. So the next show is going to be with my best friend and old roommate, Elena Sleeper. We read Shivers of the Sky or Night Sky or something like that. It's not a good sign that I don't remember the name of it. It wasn't very good. Spoiler, at least for me. Elena is still finishing up. She has kind of some different perspectives, which is good. You'll see. Look for our show next week. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com. Nothing brings people together quite like the movies, and every week Aaron Lopez wants you to join him in a discussion about the latest and greatest in the world of film. So grab a drink, grab some popcorn, and get comfy. Come join Aaron and friends every Thursday at The Drive-In, presented by Eventide Entertainment.